Hey, it's the story so far. This is a warning before this video. It may contain the swears.
And some stunts or other junk that you may find offensive.
So if you're lighthearted, Mormon, or otherwise, maybe even under 18, do not watch this video.
For the rest of you, enjoy what you're about to see.
That's right. We'll see you then. And we're back. So this is going to be part 2. Hopefully you guys are enjoying what you're seeing so far. It's definitely a touchy subject, but you know, it's one that I believe that needs to be heard. So here's part 2 to it. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the other side. I would hate to say it, but you kind of really shouldn't stifle anybody's freedoms. But you know, that opens up a whole can of worms.
Yeah, yes, it does.
So I mean, like you say,
I think the word for that is anarchy.
Yeah. You see, and I guess maybe I am.
I'm moving to Canada.
Maybe I am a fan of anarchy in a sense, because I believe that everybody should, you know, they have the right to bear arms and to be happy and do whatever makes you happy. And if the bestiality makes you happy, as long as it's not impinging upon me and you're not out doing it to where I can see it and it does make me uncomfortable, then that's fine. Now I gotta say, seeing gay guys doing their thing or lesbian women doing their thing, and doing their thing, by that I mean out holding hands, kissing, doing what regular people would do, not regular people, but heterosexual people would do, because yes, I believe that everybody is regular people, except for me. I'm the oddball, but you know what? You know, as long as they're out conducting themselves as heterosexual people would do in public, that is fine. But it is once you start going out and trying to get it on out in public and I have to walk by and see that makes me uncomfortable. It would make me uncomfortable seeing a heterosexual couple out doing that in public, because that is stuff that needs to be done behind closed doors. But
okay, and I won't argue with you on that one, because my personal belief there again is that what goes on, as long as you're not hurting yourself or someone else, what goes on in your own home behind closed doors is your business. But if you're out there flaunting your lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that is not considered normal or acceptable, which homosexuality really isn't yet in most cases, then I have a problem with it.
as far as stuff being acceptable to everybody, the masses and that, there's so much out there you could say. I mean, you got how a certain person dresses. I mean, it's just, there are so many things that you find unacceptable that I would find perfectly acceptable. It's, I guess you'd have to say it's a subject that everybody's just going to have to
see, but that's another problem. That's something that we've gotten to in this day and age, is that it's really getting so there are no kind of limits. It used to be in this society that there were limits. There were only so far you could go before it was considered too unusual or strange to be allowed. Now it's getting so nothing's considered unacceptable or unallowed. Just about anything goes. And it started with the acceptance of homosexuality amongst the populace.
Did it? Or did it start with the acceptance of women's rights or African American rights?
No, because I think those rights are fundamental, basically fundamental. African Americans are humans as well as the rest of us. Women are, but I do not. Again, I go back to this point that I do not believe that homosexuality is natural, and therefore I don't think it can have the same rights, so to speak, as these things like women's rights or African American rights.
But aren't they human beings too?
Yeah, they're human beings, and as human beings they can have the same rights as the rest of us have. But as soon as they cross that line with their sexual style, then it ceases to be human rights, in my opinion.
I bet he's thought about this.
He's thought about it a lot, and I thought about a lot of things too, but now I can't remember a lot of my arguments. I mean, I've thrown out a bunch of my stuff already, but you know, I don't have the big guns. I'm not ready. That's how I do it. I free roll it though. I agree. Yeah, you know, when there does have to be a place that you have to call it call a stoppage to it, but unfortunately the world is going that way.
I
mean,
agree.
like I said,
and I think that's part of the. I think that's the big problem with the world today. Is that's the way it's going. It's getting, like I said, so there are no limits. A guy can marry his virtual girlfriend, and nobody thinks that's strange. Nobody thinks that's
I
weird.
think it's very strange.
Does he still live
honestly.
with his mom in the basement?
There's a good probability.
Yeah, more
There's
likely
nothing wrong with
does.
living with your mom in the basement.
I think there is, buddy.
Living with your mom
You know what?
as you're living in her basement
living,
is wrong.
living
But
with
living,
your mom in her basement with Fabio.
come on now,
Right, you
Fabio.
see where I'm
Everybody
going with
accepts Fabio.
I don't accept Fabio. He was spying on you in the bathroom.
Yes,
I'd
that's true.
worry a little bit about Fabio if I were you.
That's all right. I won't be sharing a room with Fabio. He will have his own room.
That you admit to.
So, no, Fabio has slept in my sister's room, and now he's going to have his own room. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's a tough discussion, and I think that it's one that will not be concluded.
Well, true. And there-
With Proposition 8 in its flux as it is right now, you know, they repealed it, and now they put a hold on it until the 18th. I think that in California it is going to go through regardless. You know, I know the judge himself is homosexual, but there again, I'd have to say that even if he was heterosexual, either way, he's putting his own personal beliefs into his judgment. You know, a heterosexual judge would say, possibly would say, no, you know, take your side of the coin there and say, no, it is not a natural state, so yeah, we're going to uphold the Proposition 8, and marriages between gays and lesbians are not right. But I think that this judge here, I would think that I would think you'd have to have a committee to make the decision and not just one person. But even then, everybody is flawed. We're all, as we've said, human beings.
Yeah, and when have you heard of a time when a committee came up with a really good idea that worked? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, very rare.
Yeah, very rarely,
rare.
especially in this day and age. There's an old saying about a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee, which is kind of the...
Yeah,
I don't know, some of those camels are faster than certain other horses.
that's true. But it's an odd design. So,
Besides
But I do think you're right. It's a tough question. It's a tough concept, and there's so many different and varying opinions about it. And all of us have our own, and some of us are more outspoken, like you and I, on our various sides. And we're pretty much set in what we believe, and so it's not going to be an easy thing for everybody to come to accept one way or the other.
yeah, my main issue is I think we just need to accept people for who they are, because we are all human beings. We all are part of this human race, even though I don't believe it's a race, it's a journey. But, you know, I think we all need to help each other along, whether you are heterosexual or homosexual. Just as long as you're not hurting me or my family, I will be there to help you out. But as soon as you start imposing upon me, then we have an issue.
Well, and again, I agree with you there, but I think that too many times that's exactly what's happening with the homosexuals. I know of a case here just recently of some homosexual individuals who were hitting on a 16-year-old boy. 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And they're trying to, and they're hitting on him. 3 different guys, from what I understand, all hit on this kid. And that, to me, that's just not right.
It's hard to make an argument against that, but the only argument I would have against that is you wouldn't have an issue with it if it was 3 women.
At 16, yes, I would.
Well, first of all, yeah, let me backtrack that. Yes, I do have an issue with that because we're assuming that these 3 guys were adults, and the kid is obviously 16, so he is a youth, so under 18. I have an issue with that. But if he was of age. I would not, is what I'm saying, is just the issue of three separate gentlemen hitting on another guy. I don't have an issue with that. You know, as soon as he says, hey, look, you know, I'm straight, not playing that way, leave me alone, walk on, then they need to turn and walk away. But if they kept harassing him, then it becomes an issue.
Well, yeah, okay. You're right, but still, I resent the idea of three adult homosexual males hitting on an underage.
And I'm
youth.
fairly certain that you could tell that this kid was 16. So I do have issue with that. And yeah, I would have issue if it was three of age females hitting on a youth also. I mean, so I do agree with you there. But like I said, as long as he says his piece and says, hey, look, leave me alone, walks away, and they walk away, then it really shouldn't be, the issue should stop right there unless it turns into a harassing issue.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, I mean, if it's a harassment issue, it could come from anybody to anybody else.
True.
So.
And I'm not trying to backtrack here by any means, but let me just say that if homosexuals want to live that lifestyle, that's their choice. I agree with you there. The thing that we're talking about here, and the thing that I disagree with, is the idea of them being allowed to marry. I just don't agree with that at all. If they want to have a lifestyle where they're together with another individual, because I don't really accept the lifestyle to begin with, that's okay. But where it becomes a public thing, where we start hearing about mass marriages of gays in different communities, so it's getting a lot of publicity and it's getting a lot of attention, that's where I don't agree.
On the other token there, though, say I was a homosexual male, you hear all the time, right around Valentine's Day, there are mass marriages of heterosexuals.
Yeah,
When they find that, why don't they find that impinging upon their lifestyle there?
But
I mean,
but you're talking about a minority, essentially, with homosexuals, and it's not that it's you know, numbers make it right. It's that what we're talking about with the heterosexual marriages in masses is that they're accepted. That's the standard. That's okay.
yeah, but all right. So that's what you're saying, though, is it's accepted and it's okay because the majority of people accept it.
Because the majority of people say that is a natural state. That is the way it's supposed to be. A man and a woman together.
And I'm saying that it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter because it shouldn't matter if it's okay or not. Because the only reason why you're saying it's okay, how it's coming across to me, from what you're saying,
You don't
is
have
that,
to sugarcoat it. Just say it straight out.
well, no, how you're presenting it to me is that the only reason why it's okay is because the only reason why heterosexual marriage is okay is because the masses say it's okay, and the minority.
Well, the masses say it's okay because the masses, from time immemorial, have accepted that marriage is a man and a woman together. And so, therefore, they have at least all these thousands of years of history behind them saying that this is a proper state. How long have we been familiar with widespread homosexuality? Since what, the 60s or 70s?
With widespread, only that long, but
Okay.
it's been around forever.
Okay,
Because as we just said just a few minutes ago, you know that it was in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been clear
And
that
it has existed. I'm sure I know
So-
it has, but it didn't start to get the popularity that it's starting to get until, like I said, 60s, 70s, something like that. And another thing I question with homosexuality, because I don't think it's a natural state, is how many of these individuals who declare themselves to be homosexuals are actual true homosexuals, or are just playing a part because they know it's going to get them all this attention and all this, it's going to create all this controversy.
Now that I really have a problem with, because if you're just trying to play the part, then you're really bringing a negative stereotype to that lifestyle.
But I'm almost certain, because I know there are so-called homosexuals who have tried to pass themselves off as hetero. I'll bet there's also so-called